I joined the church when I was 24, and that was also in the face of already knowing that I had same-sex attraction. I have lived with it most of my life. When I was probably 10 or 11, I probably started noticing that I had attraction towards the same sex. But I dealt with that by becoming obsessed with the opposite sex and being infatuated with certain individuals and trying to pursue them romantically. And never really worked out for me, but that's kind of how I dealt with it. And it was dealing with the issue without dealing with it by kind of going in the other direction. And it worked pretty well for me for a while. I even, after graduating college, I had my first real relationship with a woman, and it seemed to go well. And I actually talked to her about my fears of thinking that I was homosexual, and that being with her made me feel that maybe I'm not. However, that relationship didn't end very well either. And however, soon after that relationship, I met missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and started learning about the church. At the time, I wasn't religious. I was pretty anti-organized religion. And through meeting with the missionaries, I actually started to find happiness and peace that I had been searching for a lot of my life. And as I went through investigating the church and just studying the gospel, I actually started to forget, not really forget, but my issues with same-sex attraction kind of went away for a while. I got so caught up in becoming more spiritual, and I actually got to the point after I joined the church where I decided I wanted to serve a mission, and I served a two-year mission in Italy. I came back and was still pretty spiritually motivated until one day on the internet I came across a picture of a naked man, and it kind of brought all of the things that I had maybe pushed away for a while all the way back into my life. And I started really spiraling downward as far as having a very tough time, a very large conflict within myself spiritually. The things that I had learned about the past 5 years of being in the church, and then now the kind of the desires and the primordial desires that I was feeling, and sometimes of the things I was acting out, knowing that they were in conflict with the teachings and the doctrines of the church, really had a big effect on me. It was very difficult, and I started feeling quite depressed and not good enough. And I didn't know what type of future I was going to have. I love the gospel, and it's changed my life, but at the same time, knowing that the things that I have felt have been in such conflict with the doctrines of the church, it's been very difficult. And I finally got to the point where I knew that if I didn't change something, that my life was going to go in a very dark place, and I didn't want to go that way. And so I finally, this past June, went to my bishop and told him the struggles I had been having with same-sex attraction. Also, me dealing with that prior to this was viewing pornography, and I kind of got addicted to that. And so I told him everything. I just wanted it all out there, and I started recovery from that. I started going to a 12-step program for recovery of pornography addiction. And then I started getting up the nerve to start talking to people about my same-sex attraction. And the biggest thing for me was to talk to my mom before I talked to anyone else other than my bishop. And that happened this Christmas. I went home, and it was hard. It was a hard time being home. It was great because I got to see a lot of family that I hadn't seen in many years. But it was really hard because in the back of my mind every day was like, okay, is today going to be the day that I talk to her? And what is going to be her reaction? I really wasn't sure. I wanted to believe that it would be good and that she would be welcoming and loving to what I had to tell her, but I just wasn't sure. I tried to plan out the best way to tell her, and I went through many different scenarios, and one I thought, I'm like, okay, I'll just tell her and see how it goes. And then I couldn't get up the nerve to do that, so I'll write her a letter, let her read it, and then we can talk about it. That didn't work. I'm like, well, I'll still write the letter, I'll read it to her myself, and then we can talk about it. That didn't work either. It came down to, she was driving me off at the airport for me to fly back to Salt Lake, and I wanted to tell her there, but it wasn't the right place to tell her, obviously. And I called her, left a message on her answering machine, knowing that she wasn't there, and said that I needed to talk to her when I got to New York, which was my layover. I had about a 3-hour layover, and said I needed to talk to her about something. So I set myself up that I actually had to say something. And when I got to New York, I gave her a call and talked to her over the phone, and told her everything that I've been struggling with, my addiction and also the same-sex attraction. And the only thing she said was, she's like, I wish you had told me when you were home so I could hug you. I was so grateful to get the response that I was looking for from her, and wish I had had the courage to be able to tell her face to face. But I'm so glad that I was actually able to tell her, no matter what manner it was, because it's out there now. And it was the first time that I've actually been able to feel like I am one person and not two. That I am actually being who I am in every facet of my life, and not feeling like I am some person that I am portraying to people and then the person who I think I really am on the inside. And that's been such a great healing process for me. And it has also helped me to start feeling like I can get back some of the spirituality that I had. I feel like I've lost a lot of it because of this struggle that I've had, just trying to come to terms with who I am. And I haven't given up on my spirituality, and I'm actually very dedicated to living according to the doctrines of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I believe it with all my heart. I'm a convert, and so I knew what I was getting into when I joined the church. And I feel like that it's still a large part of my life, and it is also something that has made me who I am today. And it is a path for me to actually be the person I see myself being. Following the gospel is something I think is what's going to make me be the man I want to be in my life. And I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know that it's going to be a brighter future now that I have taken ownership of who I am, and I am grateful for that.